Welcome to The Flip Side, a GYTO podcast where we share, break down, and challenge flip perspectives and insights on different hot topics in education.
That's right.
You guys, welcome to the podcast.
Episode 1.
Episode 1. We have a podcast studio.
Yep, and it's really fancy.
Wade is very confused about the podcast.
I don't know where to look or
I
talk.
claimed my seat so fast when I saw this chair.
We're trying to catch him up on what current podcasts are, other than Pod Meets World. That is the only podcast
I want to be on Pod Meets World one
that
day.
Wade
Put it
into
into existence.
It's going to happen, you know.
But
I'm involved. It's going to happen one day.
Welcome to the Get Your Teach On podcast. The three of us, we just figured that we argue, so we might as well put it on camera.
Yeah. We just have different views on things, not argue. People always ask in like Instagram Q&As or like on stories, do you guys fight ever because you spend so much time together? And the answer is yes.
All the time.
Argue. Disagree. I wouldn't say fight. I mean,
we'll get into
no
to
hands,
what kind of
but
fights we have.
yeah.
But that also means there's going to be some good tea because, if you don't have tea, then you don't have fights. It's just how it works. But we are so excited to bring you brand new episodes every single Monday here on The Flip Side. And so before we get into our arguments and how much we actually argue, I think that we should all introduce ourselves just in case we have any new listeners to the community. So
Sure.
Wade, I'll let you start it off.
I get to go first. All right. Great. No, I'm just super excited to be able to do this. You and I did a podcast probably like about 2 years ago, I think. And so redoing a podcast, I think is really cool. So excited to have Chris with us. Different perspective. My name is Wade King. I was an educator in public school, private school, all the things for 15 years. I've been a director of curriculum and instruction. I've taught in rural South Carolina, inner city Atlanta, suburb of Atlanta. I'm obviously your husband. And then we have
Hope's husband, if you're listening and not watching. He looked at Hope.
I did look.
To clarify.
And then we Hope and I have a wonderful, awesome son, Maverick, and he is 5 years old. So,
and you will hear lots about him from Wade.
Yeah,
because Wade is that dad.
He's great at everything. Just ask me.
Wade's a solid stage dad.
That is it.
However, the uncle over here also
We've got big plans.
Was fully producing.
Don't give it all away. Don't give it all away.
channel.
That's a
last
secret.
night, so.
Don't tell them what we're
got
doing
big
here.
plans.
Wade, glad to have you on my show. Thank you for being here.
On your show.
Wow.
I'm kidding.
Wow.
No,
this is how
ma'am.
it's going to go. Look who's in the center. Should get the close-up shots probably. We probably are like,
Fact.
are we even on the camera? I don't even know.
You're
okay,
the
we
one
are.
that said you claimed your seat
I
so
did.
fast.
I did.
This
I
was
did.
what was left.
I don't know if I said that in this recording or the recording that we just did and the power went out. I'm not
Nobody
sure
wanted-
which one I said that in, but I did say that.
Nobody wanted the front and center. All right, Chris, we'll let you take it on.
Thank you so much
so
for letting me
welcome.
go second, right? Stuck in the middle. There we go. My name is Chris Pombonyo. I hope Wade and I have been friends for almost 10 years now. I'm originally from Long Island, New York, have been a teacher, instructional coach, administrator, and now get to work with the Get Your Teach On team, delivering professional development conferences all throughout. If you're not familiar with Get Your Teach On, we host high energy, engaging, high rigor professional development for teachers and leaders, coaches, everything in between throughout the country. But we're excited to kind of switch things up. This is not going to be your traditional PD podcast. There will be very little PD actually at all. It's going to be more conversations on kind of different takes we have on different
call it
things.
the educational tea.
Yeah, the educational tea. I like that.
The educational
What does
Yeah.
tea mean?
Tea, like
I don't know.
Just drama.
Like drinking tea?
Yeah.
Drama.
Good Lord. What did
We
I
got to
get
catch you up in the
into?
world. But my name is Hope King. I'm married to this guy. Like Chris
She
said,
looked at Wade for that.
I
If
did.
you're watching the podcast.
This
Some
guy's-
people are just listening. It's not. We're used to doing lives with video all the time.
and this,
but
my friends, is why I have to hold my own because the girl between the two guys. So come on.
just clarifying.
But I am also an educator, spouse, mom, friend. Wade and I have written a book together. I started a blog 14 years ago in education. That is
like 2008.
literally going
Yep.
into like the archives of ancient times.
Yep.
So if anybody's been following, it started off as, does anybody remember?
In the
What was my
yeah.
blog? This
Stop.
is a great first question.
Second grade shenanigans.
No.
That's correct.
I thought
You
it was,
said no.
I thought it was first. No,
Do you
yes.
know me?
It was second grade shenanigans, then it transformed to elementary shenanigans.
Tell my whole life story.
I do. People
Go ahead.
always ask how we met, and they're like, "Oh, did you follow her blog?" I'm like, "What is the blog?" I had no idea she was a blogger.
It was second grade
But that is a
shenanigans.
good story to say for a different
Turned to
episode.
elementary shenanigans. Turned to, it's still elementary shenanigans, but everything's morphed into Get Your Teach On.
No,
And-
turn to Hope King Teaching Resources.
Well, that was
That was
That's an
already
email.
that.
Yeah.
that-
I get emails from that sometimes.
That
that
was-
was my TPT shop.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
No.
still is. I just
No,
haven't
that's-
answered a Q&A on there in 14 years, but it is totally fine.
That's
It's still
actually
there.
not. Yes, it is that, but it started out as being our business, and yep. So I'm forever. Wade is part of Hope King Teaching Resources.
That's how we love it.
Around
That's
the
what our
world,
accountant said,
girl.
yeah.
And then it all morphed into Get Your Teach On, which is what brought us all here. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we love hosting conferences around the nation, love working with teachers, traveling to schools and districts. And honestly, the past 2 years has been really interesting for us, which is kind of what led us to this podcast, because we have been doing a statewide partnership with the state of Indiana.
Yeah.
And we have been working now in 20 of their schools and going in to teach model lessons, work with the students, work with the teachers, literally from the ground up, whether it be state leadership to district leadership to building administration to teachers to students. And honestly, being in those schools across the state has spurred so many conversations with us. And what we have come to find is that we all typically feel very different.
I think we do feel very different, but we also feel. I think our philosophy and our foundation of education is a lot of things that we've always valued, and so we see a lot of commonality with that. But then also, I think because these are some conversations that we've had just together of how education is cyclical, it just kind of recycles over and over. I'm like, they're talking about we did this way back when, and it just looks a little bit
Is
different.
cyclical a word? Or you
Yeah,
made
it
up?
absolutely is. Yeah,
Can we
I'm here
get
for the
can
knowledge.
we get that used in a sentence?
It absolutely is.
No, but that's so true. And I think our end game is the same. Like that's one
Yeah.
thing that we agree. Like the philosophy that leads to the end game, what we want education, what we hope it is, what we want it to become for teachers and students is the same. But the way, the avenues that we get there are all completely different. And I think that too, as having a friendship with Chris for so long and us being married, we bring so many different dynamics right here to this space that we have had to learn how to have conversations. And now working together at
And are still learning.
and are
still
oh,
learning.
You're going to see a lot. You're going to see a lot of learning happening, which is what we hope this becomes, is you guys getting to see learning happening real time. Because, well, when we first started having conversations about topics, let's just talk about how we all felt. Because I felt I'm a very passionate.
Like,
You will
what you
come to
mean?
learn this about me.
Like, you need to put a timetable on this.
Look, like when me and you and Chris, I feel like we've evolved a lot, but at the very beginning of our relationship and just being colleagues together, I speak very passionately. And a lot of times Wade will be like, stop fussing at me. And I'm like, I'm not fussing at you. This is in my soul. Like this is me speaking passionately. So we've had to learn how to communicate to where Wade's gotten to know that I speak very passionately. I think about things, and I also like to be right, but we're learning. There we go. You, however, have felt like what in our conversation? Because we've talked about this part too. When we first started having very deep conversations.
Well, Wade is really outnumbered.
I can speak
because
for you right now
I
if
can
you want me to
him.
speak
I can
for
speak
you.
for him
no,
too.
no.
Or do you want to speak for yourself?
No, I just don't. Yeah,
But
I would
before
love
you
to
do,
hear.
before you do.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't.
So you speak passionately, and on the flip side, not even intentional of the
Christian
podcast
yells.
name, but on the flip side, I'm very blunt. Like I will say things direct in the moment, and then kind of move on from that. I don't need to necessarily process it. If I'm thinking it, it's going to come out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Which is something I've had to learn to kind of either
Yeah.
take back and respect other people's feelings with that. So
I mean, she's a lot like that
with
too.
the
We both
passion
are,
and
yeah.
with the bluntness, Wade is outnumbered of the I need to respond in the moment, and that's kind of where the
He feels like he can't get words in.
right.
No.
Okay,
Sometimes.
this is-
I mean, it just.
We just fill the
Which is-
silence probably.
This
more.
is where we're going back to the very beginning of us having conversations where you literally would get so mad and so angry at us because if you said something, you felt like we immediately shut you down or that you weren't heard or that you didn't get to speak. Am I making this up?
This is not
I'm
therapy.
confused right now, actually.
I'm not
No,
certified
but
to sit here
no.
for that.
But is really that not how you felt? And you voiced those things and you were just lying
I
about
would
it?
wish you would just say that again. 'Cause again, I process.
Okay.
Well,
And
essentially,
you're-
here's okay. I'll break
Don't-
it down simpler.
Yes, thank you.
Hope will say something.
Yep.
Hope and I tend to.
Well, first of all, we're talking about what kind of communicators we are
Correct.
in this space.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, any space.
I'm very aware of how I communicate in this space.
Any space.
In any space.
This is how we
But
communicate.
this is
period.
like it on blast.
Yeah, let's unpack
Then
that.
Chris
more.
talked about then Chris talked about how he says it and blunt, and that's just, it is what it is. And a lot of times people can take that as, oh my gosh,
Right.
it's his way or the highway, which sometimes it is in his mind. But then you have always, not always, but when we first started having conversations, whether it be a Get Your Teach On idea, whether we be talking about something that we're doing at schools, whether it be an initiative that we're about to
Disney family friend vacation.
Disney vacation. How did you feel in the beginning with Chris being in a conversation with just the three of us?
How did I'm not like, because y'all speak differently than I do, so I don't.
That's where we're going, buddy. So
Yeah.
just
Outnumbered.
and it's very
It takes me a
evident
minute.
right here
Yeah,
in this
it
moment.
takes me a minute to understand what you're talking about because you just.
Takes you a minute to understand what we're talking about, and then how do you feel with Chris and I having such loud, powerful, passionate voices? That's not you.
Oh no, and that's not me. That's y'all, and that's Chase, and that's a lot of people on our
Everyone-
team.
Yeah.
Everyone in your
Besides
life.
mostly me, and so yeah, I feel very anxious. I feel very inferior, but then I don't necessarily feel that way. It's just frustrating because I process it differently because I've learned and I've been taught that you just kind of need to sit back, and just because you speak loud doesn't mean it's more important.
That's right.
And so I think everyone on our team has kind of understood that at least a little bit more. And I've seen you guys catch yourselves, but I've also seen myself speak louder. But I also think that goes back to like, and I think you'll get this too, Chris, like if we're both elementary majors, that's what we did, early childhood, elementary, so on. So, I mean, we're guys. Hope, same thing. So if we were both in the same school, same situation, same whatever, she could say something the same way we think we're saying it, but it comes off differently. And
Correct.
I think just my background and doing that, I've also learned, hey, you got to be careful of how you say, and you say that all the time.
Yeah.
Hey, it's not what you say, it's how you say it,
Or
even though you
because
don't realize it.
yeah,
So
or
I'm
because
always cognizant of that too.
I'm a passionate female and I have goals and I say things in a way that gets the job done. Sometimes I can be viewed as, oh, she's so,
Direct, blunt.
or she's scarier.
Yeah.
And so, but anyways,
But I think we all have that passion, I think, in how we communicate things and how we say things. But it's, it can be viewed because we do not like to waste time. If there's a mission, we're going to get it accomplished. We're go-getters.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think that's something that all three of us really value in ourselves, but also our team members and everyone else is just understanding that people are different.
but that is why we're here. So I want to
Yeah.
bring it back to, we've
Sorry,
now
it took a
gone
minute. It took a minute
deep
there for me to
dive.
understand what was happening.
We went around.
Now we've
and
got-
we're back. We got it.
We've got a deep dive into our communication. But that's what's so important, because as we're working in schools and as we're working with teachers, let's think about, whether you call it the teacher's lounge or your classroom where teachers are congregating to have discussions, or whether it be a social media platform, or whether it be whatever method, Facebook groups. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Facebook comments.
We have seen that there is a huge deficit and issue when it comes to communication and education,
Yeah.
and having different perspectives
From
And so-
people who are all in the same profession,
yeah,
all on the same page, all want the same end result,
yeah,
but cannot respect other people's opinions on different things or understand that there may be multiple ways to
Yeah.
do something effectively and still get a great result. Instead, it's bashing, calling each other out, saying it's my way or this. Even with curriculums and things like that, people have chosen a side. And this is kind of where our group
you
chat.
are science of reading or you are a terrible
Correct,
teacher.
all the things.
And so that is where we said, we see that most times, conversations in education do one of two things. Either number one, it divides.
Yeah.
Which if we are constantly divided, we are never going to see the end game that we all want to see, which is best schools for teachers and kids. So it either divides. I rarely see that conversations unify. To me, that might be 2% of the conversations. But third,
Or they unify, but in a negative way. Like
Or they
I'm unifying
unify-
with the people who are
they unify
now talking about
into
negativity. Drama.
drama, or like clusters of people, friend groups that then this, again, it's
For the
divisive.
wrong reason. Yeah.
It's divisive, or it just makes people angry. And it makes them feel sideload. So, I can't co-teach with that teacher, or I can't lesson plan with that teacher because we see things two completely different ways.
Yeah.
That's what we wanted to bring to this podcast. We see things very differently. Our approach is very different. Our journey is very different. The way that we accomplish things are very different. But what unifies us is the end game. And we said we need to create a space where really difficult conversations can be had. And that's not going to be every single, we're going to have some fun conversations. We're going to have all the conversations, but where we are modeling, and I don't mean by any stretch of the imagination that we perfectly know how to communicate. Like I said, y'all are going to see a lot with us. There will probably be some times that I walk off this set mad too.
Oh, I didn't know it was going to. I can't wait for that one.
But
I'm good.
But I think it's important to be able to bring very hot topics, very controversial ideas to the forefront and watch how people communicate, but how we keep that end game in mind and say, okay, hold on a second. We can't just talk about all of the issues without solutions of how we're going to unify. That has to be the end game for everyone, is to say we can disagree and still unify to get our end game accomplished, but also respect that you do it one way, you do it another way, I do it another way, all highly effective to get the job done. And I think that that's the problem, is that we're shying away from a lot of conversations in education simply because we're afraid to have them, because somebody's going to get mad, because somebody's going to feel like we're ganging up on them, because it's going to divide. If we are not having these conversations, that's the biggest issue. Not that somebody's going to get mad or it's going to divide, that the conversations aren't being had, so progress isn't being made. So that's how we chose to call this the flip side.
Lots of flip sides.
We want to bring lots of perspectives. And I think the thing we talked about is our hope is not that you come here and you say, oh, well, because Hope said that, I've got to say that. Or because Chris said that.
Right.
We want to challenge thinking. We want you to leave this podcast like, wait, I know what Chris said, and I know what Hope, and I know what do I think? And how would I approach that in a conversation?
Yeah, I think,
yeah.
Sorry. I mean, just kind of doubling down. I mean, I think that's really important, because I think just even with us three, I think we've all learned that, and it's just improved us as humans, but also as professionals too, because we do have various different experiences just in our life, but also in the profession, but then also we have different opinions on different things, but we've learned how to kind of listen to what we listen to and make our own choices, but that foundation is still there. Like, if it's working for kids, it's working for kids.
Yeah, the group chat makes it to the podcast. But it's not just going to be the three of us on these episodes. We have a ton of incredible guests lined up that are going to be featured on different topics, full spectrum. We're going to cover everything A to Z, and we have some incredible guests that'll be featured on each episode, joining us here to have those hot topics, see their flip perspective on things, and really take it to the next level. So
also talk about how we've intentionally, because we've already planned a good 6 months worth of content.
Oh, yeah.
But talk about like what they're going to see in the titles of these podcasts and like what we're intentionally bringing to the conversation. Yeah,
so each conversation is going to be, like we said, of a hot topic in education or something just that we see a lot on social media, in the comments, things that we post out for teachers or reshare of either our presenters, teachers that we follow, and then just the comments are unhinged over and over and over. I have a story to tell about that, but I'm going to save it for the episode on that and things like that. But it is going to be a this or this. So it's going to be the topic in education. Is it doing this for students, teachers, community, or is it doing this? And we're going to kind of not debate it, but really show both sides of it. And show
we're going to show the flip side.
Show the flip side.
So we're excited to dive into these topics. We are excited to bring episodes every single Monday. Again, on YouTube, we wanted you to actually see the madness happening if you wanted to, but also you can listen to it on other platforms as well. But we hope that you'll engage in dialogue. We hope that you will challenge your own thinking and say, hold on a second, I can bring passionate ideas to the table, because I think a lot of people do feel like Wade, where it's just like, I'm just not going to say anything. And that is, again, one of the most harmful things that can happen in a space.
I disagree. I think it'd be one of the most powerful things if you
to silence yourself.
Yeah, and we could talk about that later.
Oh wow,
but
we're already
because it's not worth the
interesting
energy. Like, sometimes it's not worth the energy, and you're not going to make a difference in wherever
the
situation is.
Okay,
so,
and I'll rebuttal that. I mean, I don't know how long we're on this episode,
and
but
here we go,
this
guys.
could be a whole nother episode. But yes, okay, it's good to silence your perspective and things like that. But if you silence it and let it go, great, not worth your energy.
Correct.
If you silence it and then
let
carry it with you, and then 4 days later we're still talking about something that could have been cleared,
exactly,
not productive.
And
so that's kind of where
I don't
goes.
disagree with that.
And that's the flip side of it.
And
you know?
But that's what I know about myself too, and y'all know
yes,
too.
you carry it with you. That's why I'm like, I can be so mad at somebody and 30 seconds later be
Same.
totally fine because I told you everything that I wanted you to hear. And it's not that I'm expecting you to sit I would love for you to tell me how you felt about it too. But that's why I get over things so quickly, and Wade festers and sits on
Which
things
is
for weeks.
probably
So-
why we've been best friends
and
so
neither one
long,
is
and
the
we've had to
right way.
learn. And Hope and I were friends first through.
I'm more empathetic, I think, than both of you.
Correct,
Just saying.
100%.
Yeah.
We have no feelings like when things like that.
They do.
Like it does
they
not.
absolutely
That's
do.
a
Don't
lie.
let them.
I
but-
do not. No, I'm just kidding. But it does not bother me. Like it's gonna bother
Says
me
the
in
man
that
who
moment.
cries at every Broadway musical.
I'm just emotional. Okay, I'm having a baby, so I'm just really emotional.
Emotional
Right
is different than empathetic.
Wow,
And-
we
and-
now. Wow,
Anyway.
we don't
so
even.
many topics.
We just need full definitions for
rolling.
these words.
Keep it
Yeah,
rolling, no.
but I forgot what I was gonna say.
I'm sorry, that was my
That's
fault.
what happens
Exactly.
sometimes too.
Well, I know something else I was gonna say, but
If you tap your nose, I hear it comes back to you.
It is not.
what?
That's what I've heard.
I heard if you look up and say broccoli, you don't sneeze as well, but that
That
doesn't
does work.
either,
You
but-
did. You taught me that.
But
Random.
essentially, what these conversations are going to look like is going to take things to. I don't even know what I'm going to say.
Well,
I have no idea. I was just going to. I was very passionate about that, and then
It just-
I lost it.
But we got.
and that's
we got
that's
past
the
something
reality.
else.
I'm sure it'll come
And
back
I don't
to you in
drink.
another-
I don't drink coffee, so this is
I'm
what
sure
you
it'll come
get
back to you
early
in
in the
another
morning.
episode. But we do hope that you see yourself in these conversations. And if you are hesitant, or if you find that people don't hear your ideas, maybe you can also take from just the dynamics of what does it look like to have these difficult conversations in education and actually make progress.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Conversations are not making
He remembered.
progress.
Stop.
I remembered.
Go,
Okay.
go.
I remembered. I was saying before I was, cut off a little bit, but it's okay because it's a conversation. But I was saying, Hope and I were friends first, and that's kind of what works for our friendship.
Oh, that's how we get along so well.
Exactly,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
we can have a disagreement and then 2 seconds later be like laughing over something on TikTok or Instagram, and it's like it never happened. And people are always like, "Oh my gosh, you guys work together. You're best friends. How does that look?" Wade and I, obviously, not just through being Hope's husband, which would have been a natural friendship anyway, but as colleagues and we work together,
Correct.
we've had to almost like I guess when you probably guys started dating and that, but figure each other out
Yeah.
on how that works because we do spend so much time together. We choose to work together. We choose to go on vacations together. We choose to still hang out outside of work together.
Yeah.
So learning other people and how that works. And over the years, those conversations have just gotten easier.
They absolutely have. I would agree
because
with that.
we
yes.
understand each other's perspective and what that looks like. But I think in schools, a lot of times, those conversations don't even happen. It's easier to just close your door, turn off your lights, and not
Yes.
think about those people.
They don't
When in
occur.
reality, those people are not going away. They're going to show up the next morning.
And it's not that you have to be best friends with them.
No,
but
absolutely not.
Have I ever hurt your feelings?
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
But that's the problem is, and
I didn't
I'm
know the
not-
right answer.
I'm not even
I
gonna,
got really scared. I was like, oh my gosh, I know the answer, but I don't know the right answer.
I'm not even going to ask Wade if I've ever hurt his feelings, but
daily.
I think, no, come on.
Not today yet.
No.
Yeah, a little bit in the car when she fussed at me to be quiet.
That's 'cause
That
you
did
were-
happen actually, but I was like shoved in the back row with a million suitcases, so I really could not hear.
But what I was trying to say is what happens in schools is the cancel culture of society is unhinged.
Yeah.
The cancel culture of schools is even worse because if somebody hurts your feelings one time, it's like done. I can't work with them. Can't plan. Like there is so much, I feel like, butting of heads in education simply because we don't know how to have conversations that initiate progress.
Right.
Rather than having to have your idea be the right one. And again, we're going to get into it. I'm
Yeah.
not talking about advocating and the right thing. And oh my gosh, then you throw in politics. And to me, honestly,
Because this is really in life. It's not even just in schools and buildings.
so
This
much
is in
about
life.
education. So much
That
of
is-
what we're talking about in education shouldn't even be political. We were having a
Right.
conversation with one of the Indiana leaders the other day, and she said there's a lot of things that can be political. Teaching kids to read should not be one of them.
Right.
And I'm like, that's so many things in education. So how do we have productive conversations that initiate progress, that initiate unity, that initiate this nation coming together with the same end game in mind, which is to make schools the best place for teachers and kids. And that doesn't mean we have to agree.
Yeah.
We are not going to agree on everything. So that's what we want this space to be about. You to come here, you to have even a space if you don't feel like you can have these conversations yet, that this can bring some of those conversations to the table at schools, in professional development, in trainings, at district offices, even at the state level, that we can start unifying this education or this nation on education, because that is the only way that we are going to make the shifts that we want to see. So that's what the flip side is all about. And we are super pumped. So again, it's not going to be professional development, or is it? but it's not going to be what you see at conferences and, hey, let's use this strategy to get our kids to become better. That is not what this is about.
No.
This is about
curriculum
challenging conversations to have productive solutions.
Yeah, so we hope you'll spend your Monday mornings with us. Grab your favorite coffee, your Starbucks, your Dunkin', whatever you have. You can make it a fun coffee drinking game. How many times I can make flip side puns throughout the season.
Thing is that I'm so excited that our guests are going to be here.
Yeah, live.
Like in
we're not
studio.
phoning in.
I don't
doing
know.
all those
And I was
things.
thinking about that when you were talking about. I was like, I don't think our guests actually know like how laid back this is really going to be. It's going to be really fun and exciting. So,
we want them to
can't wait to have them on.
Bring their authentic self to the table. They don't have to come here and say any one thing or think about if it's the right or wrong thing, because nothing is the right or wrong thing to say.
And if one of us gets upset while they're here, they'll be able to witness it in person.
That's
so
right.
There it is. That'll be
There
fun.
we go. Real life.
So, Chris,
Yes.
the outro.
The outro.
What is that?
Oh, well, we have the intro that Hope did. The outro, we're going to end every episode the same way, and it's going to be a pun, so that's just another sip of your coffee if you're playing along at home. But we hope that you will join us every Monday morning for new episodes right here. Subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening, you can always watch the full video on YouTube as well. Follow us on socials to stay connected, and we will see you on the flip side.
We'll catch ya on the flip side.
Catch you on the flip side.
No,
Catch you on the flip
y'all know
side.
where that's from? From Boondock Saints.
Yeah, I wasn't born yet, so
It's great. So if you know Boondock,
I guess we do have
All
to
right.
decide:
Cool.
is it we'll catch you on the flip
Catch you on
side?
the flip
Catch you on the
side.
flip
Well,
That's
vote.
what it
If you
is.
wanted to change it, we can change it mid-season. but
Let's try it
catch
one
you.
more
Okay,
time.
here we go.
All
First
right.
episode.
Next Monday, we'll catch ya
on the flip side. Bye, guys.
That was solid.
yeah, that was good.